Hello everyone, back tuning into today's video. We're going to have a look at when it's week to 10 days in today's video, which takes into the start of January. There is signs that we're going to be turning things colder through the early part of January. Actually, it's turning colder now, but it's sort of a frost and fog type cold, whereas in early January, there is sign that we could turn winds into the north, probably bring some Arctic air down across the country. Now, we'll get our initial plunge of cold air on New Year's Day. I think that's fairly well supported now. So New Year's Day, probably to Bank Holiday Monday, 2nd of January, we're going to have a cold northerly wind. After that, I would expect the high pressure to topple down across the country, and we have a spell of dry, frosty weather through the middle part of next week. It's beyond that where things are going to go. That's a little bit uncertain. Will this high pressure go back north and bring down another northerly plunge, or will it sort of just sit around the country? That's what we can't yet answer, but potentially we could be looking at quite a cold start to January. So I'll get on with the detail for you in a moment. We'll also have a look at the CFS V2 for the next month, as we usually do on a Tuesday as well. And to just say thanks for tuning in on your bank holiday Tuesday. Right, before I get on with that, just to say about the ads, there's links to articles on all pages. Have a browse through widgets and click through links. If there's any articles that you'll have to pay website, thanks very much for doing that. There's also video ads, most pages, which own content when you watch them, because it does have to pay for gas service. Just starting off with situation tonight, we've got some fog coming up tonight. This is the high resolution Euro 4 model from website Weather Online, which is UK Met Office product. This is for visibility. And you can see at midnight we have got fog patches developing here across England and Wales. And they get thicker through the course of the night. So there's a lot of red there across England and Wales by 6 o'clock in the morning, indicating a chance of some really dense fog patches, particularly through parts of northern East England, also in the south. Not so much for Wales, but even there is a few fog patches coming through. And those fog patches look set to linger, actually, through the day tomorrow. This is 3 o'clock in the afternoon on Wednesday, where through the Midlands, parts of East England, we've still got the suggestion of some quite dense fog. When it all thickens up again on Wednesday night into Thursday, some really dense fog, again, coming back across England and Wales. And that could well linger through much of Thursday itself, and we might do it all over again on Thursday night, re-thicken that fog up. So for the next 2 or 3 days and nights, I think we do have to worry, particularly for England and Wales, less so for Scotland and Northern Ireland, but for England and Wales, next 2 or 3 days and nights, I think we do have to worry about the risk of some really quite dense fog patches indeed. That should all go by the time we get through towards New Year's Eve. We'll bring down a cold front that'll freshen the wind, it'll bring outbreaks of rain, and it'll clear that fog away. It's that cold front that's introducing our initial sort of northerly plunge for New Year's Day. So these are the GFS temperature and precipitation ensembles for the next 2 weeks. This really sums up quite well what's going on. So the red line there, the thick red line, is the 30-year temperature average, and we can see that at the moment the upper air temperatures are significantly milder than average. Actually, we're up around this sort of level. Of course, down on the surface we get an inversion, so it's colder on the surface, we radiate heat out in space very quickly, we produce fog potentially across England and Wales, which also has an effect of lowering the temperatures, and overall it's going to be a lot colder down on the surface compared to the air aloft. Now, this period just here, which is the 1st of January, is when we bring that cold front down across the country. So quite a plunge in temperature takes place from the 1st through to the 2nd of January, going cold. Now, there is precipitation in there as well. Now, excuse me, the question we've got for New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, is how quickly this cold front is going to progress down across the country. Behind the cold front, we've got the cold air coming in. So that's going to be producing snow showers across Scotland, I would think, by New Year's Day. For England and Wales, that cold front could stall, and it looks like it's going to have quite a wet day, actually, across the south. And if that cold air sort of catches up the cold front, if you see what I mean, it might produce a little bit of back edge sleet or snow on New Year's Day. So don't totally rule out the chance of getting some snow on New Year's Day. Beyond that, we just go into a cold northerly for the 2nd and 3rd of January. And that probably produces snow showers in the northern and eastern part of the country. Many places will be dry but frosty. Now, after that, we have lots and lots of scatter within this ensemble. So You can see that through this first week of January, we certainly have the potential for some very cold, excuse me, again, some very cold weather coming through. But equally, it's not clear-cut. We have several ensemble members that are actually mild through this first week of January. So from an ensemble point of view, couldn't really make a forecast for the first week of January. Clearly, there is the potential for some very cold weather, but you will want to see many more of these ensemble members going cold before you had good confidence about it. So a lot of uncertainty after the initial plunge of cold air comes down on New Year's Day. That's quite well supported. But beyond that, we've got a lot of uncertainty about where this is going to go through that first week of January. But the potential is there for some colder weather in January. Temperature anomalies for next week. This is mainly down to the frost and fog we've got coming out below average. So this is taking us from the 27th of December through to 4th of January. England and Wales, interestingly, colder than Scotland. And again, that's because England and Wales is the focus for frost and fog, whereas Scotland and Northern Ireland should be a little bit milder. Precipitation anomalies generally drier than average, particularly so for the south. So this is the GFS for New Year's Eve. When we've got this cold front moving south, that's where the cold front is on New Year's Eve, at midnight on New Year's Eve, just there, still more or less to the north and west of the country. The south still probably quite fogged up. We go through to New Year's Day. This is midnight New Year's Day, just a Big Ben is chiming, and then we see that the cold front is more or less in that position. So it's obviously turning cold behind that cold front for Scotland. There could be snow showers New Year's Eve to New Year's Day across Scotland. England and Wales probably still quite mild. The fog has gone because the wind's freshened up. This front is producing outbreaks of rain. We get through into midnight on the 2nd of January, and that cold is still very close to the south. It's lying through this sort of area, and there is an area of low pressure developing along that cold front for northern parts of France. You have to watch out for that. If that low pressure pushes up like that and brings the cold front back, essentially, it's engaging this cold air that's coming down from the northeast, and that could produce a little bit of sleet or snow sometime around New Year's Day or the 2nd of January for southern parts of the country. As it is, I think we might get a little bit of back-edge snow on New Year's Day, parts of England and Wales, but it goes quite quickly, and we just bring that cold north to northeasterly flow down. But we do have to watch how this northerly plunge is developing. Now, as we go through to the 3rd of January, that high pressure sort of topples down across the country, bringing just frosty, dry conditions, really, and that stays with us through to the middle part of next week. This is Wednesday, 4th of January. Thursday the 5th, and then on to day 10, Friday the 6th, finds a renewed push of cold air from the north coming through. So the high pressure, the initial high pressure associated with that northerly plunge slips into Central Europe, and then we've got this area of low pressure around Iceland on the 5th of January, Thursday the 5th, which plunges cold air down across the country day 10 on Friday the 6th. And then we build that ridge over the country again, and sort of it's a rinse repeat pattern of a northerly plunge, then high pressure slipping down, then we get another northerly plunge, and all in all that could mount up to quite a cold first half of January, even if we don't pull off anything particularly severe or snowy. So that's how the GFS is looking. This is the ECM WF, and again for New Year's Eve we find that England and Wales probably has a lot of fog still to start off with anyway. Then there's a cold front coming into Scotland bringing outbreaks of rain. New Year's Day, this is midnight on New Year's Day, has the front in that sort of position through the central part of the country. Get the cold air coming down from the north behind that cold front. For the south, we've lost the fog risk because the wind has freshened up. We go through to the 2nd of January. Again, we take a long time to clear that cold front away from the south. It's in that sort of position. There is very cold air following along behind that cold front. So, might get a little bit of back-edge snow, and if an area of low pressure was to develop along the cold front, then maybe something a little bit more significant. So we have to watch how this northerly plunge is getting in initially on New Year's Day. Then beyond that, we go through to Tuesday next week, where we're in this northerly flow. So that's bringing snow showers probably to Scotland and east parts of England. Otherwise, it's mostly dry. And then the high pressure builds through the country, same as the GFS, through the middle of next week. Things mostly settled, but it would be a lot of frost in association with that. Up to day 10, we initially get a bit of a milder push from the southwest on Thursday the 5th of January, but by day 10, Friday the 6th, again we're finding high pressure building out to the west. It's starting to move up towards Greenland as this low pressure pushes towards Norway and turns winds back into the north again. So we start off cold next week. We get perhaps a slightly less cold middle part of the week, although there could be frost and fog, and then the end of the week it's back to those northerly winds. Excuse me again. I'm just going to show you the GFS parallel run, the midnight run of the GFS parallel run. Now the parallel run is going to become the operational run of the GFS model. So this is eventually going to take over from what we use as the operational run right now, which is the highest resolution run of all the GFS ensemble members, if you like. Next year, this will take over and become the main GFS model. They like to run it as a parallel operational run for a few months before it takes over, just to iron out any glitches that they get with the upgrade to the model. And we see the charts for that. It went very cold on its midnight run today, so I'm just going to show you this before we move on to CFS. So that's how we look on New Year's Eve, all very similar. High pressure still bringing frosty and foggy conditions to the south, then the cold front coming into the north. New Year's Day and into the 2nd of January, we bring that cold northerly wind down across the country. That could bring snow showers to the north and to the east. The high pressure collapses down across the country through the middle part of next week, producing probably a lot of frost, and then we go through towards the end of next week, and it looks like we're going back into a milder westerly phase. Actually, we don't bring that renewed push there from the north at day 10, Friday the 6th of January. Probably still frosty in the south. That would be milder for the north. So far, nothing really that interesting, but we go beyond day 10, and look what happens. We take that high pressure up to Iceland, develop it to the north of Scandinavia. That's a proper blocking feature developing to the north and northwest of the country. At the same time, this trough with very cold air associated with it is pushing down across Scandinavia, bringing a really cold air in from the north and the northeast. And then it goes really quite severe actually through the second week of January. Look at this, start to pull in some very cold air from the east. That's a really deep cold pulse engulfing most of Europe in a severe spell of weather up to the 10th of January, and there is a classic sort of blocking feature over Greenland. Now, we saw on the GFS ensembles, there are ensemble members that are going really cold through this period into the second week of January. So this run will probably be doing something similar to, say, these ensemble members, particularly that one, maybe that one as well. So it's not entirely out of the out of question that we might get something quite severe cropping up through the second week of January. But you'll see, again, it isn't well supported by the GFS ensembles. Many of the ensemble members actually milder through the second week of January. So until we firm up on this, we can't have good confidence about it at all. But the potential is there for something significantly cold to happen through the early part of January. We've just got to wait and see how this all irons itself out. But if I show you the upper air temperatures that the parallel run was going for on the 10th of January, look at that, really severely cold across most parts of Europe. Looks quite alarming, but don't be too worried because it isn't well supported at all, that kind of scenario, by the GFS ensembles. Obviously, if it was to pan out like that, we wouldn't really know about it, but I think it's unlikely we'll get anything anywhere near as cold as that. Fine, just have a look at the CFS V2 for next month. So these 500 millibar height anomalies broken down into week periods. The first week period takes from 27th of September through 2nd of January. We've got a ridge through the country, so lots of dry settled weather. This is for frost and fog that will be coming up. We know that on New Year's Eve and day, it's changing a bit with cold front coming southwards, introducing a northerly flow. But as an anomaly for the next week, that's how it looks, with a lot of settled but quite cold and frosty weather. Week 2, which is the 3rd through to the 9th of January, takes high pressure more towards the northwest of the country. A trough is in over Scandinavia, and the flow is probably doing something like that. We're almost on the cold side of the blocking feature there, probably pulling the wind down from the northeast. So that could be turning quite a lot colder through that period in early January. What does the model do there? Well, it takes that high pressure and forms it as a major northern blocking feature, so it's stretching out from Greenland and going towards the north of Scandinavia with low pressure going underneath it. That looks like a definitively cold scenario to me. I've had a look at the temperature anomalies, there's nothing to get excited about, but that does look really quite a cold blocked situation there through that second week of January. Not all that far away from what the GFS parallel run was just doing. And then this goes on into the second half of January, so it's going from the 17th through 23rd of January, where that blocking is still there, centred over Greenland. Low pressure is going underneath it, and I would have thought the flow is going something like that. So we're on the cold side of the jet stream, and we'd be bringing the air in from a north or easterly type direction. The trough would be engaging with that cold air. We've got below average height, particularly through the south, so that would be giving us a risk of snow. That looks like quite a cold January that the CFS is going for there. It could be that because we're getting this initial northerly plunge coming up on New Year's Day, the models are sort of going over the top with it and going a bit crazy, and it won't turn up anything like this. But those charts, those anomalies, 500 height anomalies, they do stretch into the second half of January, and it looks generally like it's going to be quite a cold month if it was to come off. So I think we've got to wait and see where this is all going. It's a big change on what we've had in December, but not all that different really. It's just that in December we've tended, have had a lot of blocking, but in December we've tended to be on the mild side of the block. As I always say, the critical factor with blocking is where the block is sitting. If you're on the cold side of it, then you're going to be very cold. But if you're on the mild side of it, then you'll be mild, and that's what's happened through December. It's been a dry month due to blocking, but we've been on the mild side generally. If the long wave patterns are shifting for January, then we could easily find ourselves on the cold side of the block, and that's the kind of thing the CFS is indicating there. So it's going to be a matter of waiting and seeing where this is all going. We're entering a fascinating period of model watching, quite obviously. And just keep checking back for more updates later on. I'm going to have a whiz through the GFS ensemble members, each one of them, all 21 members, and we'll see if we can work out where the model is trending, or where the ensembles are trending. That'll be with you this evening, so come back for that. Right, that's all for now, and thanks for watching. Enjoy the rest of your bank holiday.